welcome all to the first series of debates conducted by the ADA Debaters League. So the motion for the day is freedom of speech is necessity in functional society. So our judge, Ms. Gauri Advani, she has graduated in 2003 from ILS College, Pune, and is currently based in Bangalore. She has since then worked in law firms, legal departments of IT companies, and is currently working for Diageo as Vice President and Senior Legal Counsel. Apart from being a lawyer, she's a mother, avid reader, and a traveler. She thoroughly enjoys the company of nature and would love to settle in Himalayas someday. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming and adjudicating our debate. Good evening, ma'am, once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome. Now we go through the format of the debate very quickly. The first round is constructive arguments. This round consists of 6 speeches in total with an individual speaker time of being 3 minutes. So here, I request all the debaters to clear your stance, but don't give any rebuttals in this statement because we have a round called rebuttals later. So please don't try to defend, don't try to refute the arguments. Just make clear of your stance. Next is discussion round. This round will have two participants, one from each team. Will have an open conversation, arguing the resolutions to the motion. There will be no individual speaker's time. Tentatively, it will be 4 minutes, but then it could be increased on the discretion of our adjudicator. The next round is a rebuttal round. In this rebuttal round, there will be one from proposition, one from opposition, and 2 minutes would be given. We are solely expected to rebuild your arguments and refute arguments of the opposing team. Okay, the fourth round is a new round which is introduced by ADA Debaters League. It is Fence Your Defense. In this round, each team will be presented with a situation. They will be given 30 seconds, following which they should be providing a clear and concise statements on how they would handle the said situation. This round would be scored by the moderator. The given situation is open for interpretation, but make sure the interpretation is logical and practical, doesn't goes above head. At any cost, please stand by your stance. Don't be diplomatic at any cost in this situation. Another important point to be noted is from the quarterfinals, we are adding a term called as decorum. This marks will again be given by the moderator. So, what does decorum consist of? It consists of you abiding with the time limit and rules of procedure, so and other factors, but it would be given by the moderators themselves. Round 5 is judge questioning round. Here we'll have a maximum of 2 questions to each team. Then each team will be given 3 minutes to formulate and answer the question. I repeat, formulate and answer the question. Then we have the last round, this closing statements round. Each member of team will be given 1.5 minutes. And here it is to present your closing statement. With this, we finish the format, and I wish all the debaters all the best. Now we start off with the first round, that is constructive statement. Here, I look to the first speaker of the proposition.
Yeah. Good evening. I'll be the first speaker for the proposition team. So I'll begin. Sisters and brothers of America. These words reverberate even today in the halls of the Art Institute of Chicago. The standing ovation and the speech that followed signifies the importance of the impact of speaking. Swami Vivekananda may have given a speech to promote the Hindu culture in the world's Parliament of Religion back on 11th September 1893. Maybe a similar speech during the medieval period would attract a death penalty from the church, as they would consider you to be a dissenter of the teachings and a deserter of the church's view. This brings me to the topic at hand today. Freedom of speech is a necessity in functional society, regardless of the dangers it may entail. What is freedom of speech? Doesn't it simply mean that a person has an ability to express his or her opinion and belief without any fear? When Louis Philippe turned a deaf ear to the oppressed French commoners, it gradually gave rise to one of the biggest revolutions in the history of France. People were shot at the day the Parisians got out on the streets to portray their anger against the citizen king. Giving people the right to raise a voice and actually listening to their woes would maybe have put King Louis in the history not as a coward who fled away, but as a king who was really a citizen king. What does history tell us from this? It tells us that the prosperity and a vision towards the future also lies in giving every person a right of freedom, giving a person a right to freedom of speech and expression. People considered Earth to be the center of the universe until Copernicus came forward to state it was otherwise. Even after having an equal protection clause as the 14th Amendment in the Constitution, there existed a racial segregation in the public education system of the United States. If Oliver Brown had not raised his voice and spoken out against this public system by filing a case against the Board of Education demanding that his black daughter be accepted and taught at the same school as the whites, who knows how many years would a black man have to wait for this day? And there are countless such instances where raising one's voice has helped move our society on a path of progress. Didn't people like Bhagat Singh, Dr. Satyapal not use the power of their voices to protest and fight the British rule? Also, Rajaram Mohan Roy spoke for the fight against the act of sati. This voice was revolutionary. Also, and freedom of speech is a powerful tool, but in the hands of the right people. And like every right has a duty attached to it, even freedom of speech carries its accountability. A girl at a signal in Delhi made millions bend to support her and provide her with sympathy to such an extent that the chief minister and even certain celebrities lauded her with praise. But 4 years later, and after knowing the truth behind the incident, people realized their folly. People in a certain position should realize the limits to their freedom of speech. Yes, we propagate that it is a necessary tool, but we also advocate that it should be used to inspire people to do better for the humanity and not as a tool to create a discord in the society. To conclude, I would
Please
like to
conclude.
say, yeah, but yes, this tool is necessary as the world suffers not due to the people who abuse their powers, but more so when the right people don't speak up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I look to the next speaker from the opposition.
Good evening. My name is Kritika. I'll be the speaker from the opposition. Will go first. Good evening, judges and fellow debaters. We as the opposition would bring to you and show how absolutism of the freedom of speech in its essence to be expressed unregulated is failing the functionality of the society, thereby undermining its own essentiality. Because in status quo, it segregates more than it creates cohesion within the society. The dangers are overwhelming because they threaten the equity of the exercise of their rights within the society. So basically, what do we mean about when we say this, right? So the freedom of speech entails you to speak what you want to speak, but it does not give you the equitable right to exercise your equitable chance to exercise your right. What it says is everybody can speak up, but everybody in this world is given equal rights but are not given equitable rights, right? So there are some sections which are vulnerable, there are some groups which are minority, some groups that are marginalized. What happens when we give everybody the same right here, not keeping in mind the already existing problem in the status quo, is we undermine the existing scenario and the problems that entails. What happens is we give the power to some people who have more social capital, per se, to advocate what they feel is right, what they feel should everybody think for. What this essentially does is manipulates and can mobilize vast majority and groups of people, thus threatening the functionality of the society as a whole. It does not bring people together, but can, and in many instances, as we see, how can mobilize people against another group, right? So what we propose to you is a counter model to what. So basically, what we say is there needs to be an independent body that can regulate and say what can this freedom of speech, what is allowed as a freedom of speech. There needs to be a limitation or to what can be accepted in society. We cannot just go about allowing a person, a psychopath, say, to manipulate and to completely change how people are thinking because they have a majority, because the people are listening to them, means that we are in a problem, right? Because there's so many things that needs to change because it might lead to mobilization of the people. So we propose to you a model which will help you get control of this hate speech that exists, that can exist, right? So what we give to you is an independent body of competent people. These linguistics, what they will, the next speaker will come and elaborate to you how this is going to work, and this is going to be an independent body which will help because of their knowledge and their uh, years of experience in these lines as to how there can be regulations put in place to help make the society work better as together and thus allow people to express their opinions without hurting somebody else's opinion. It's the burden on the proposition side to tell you where is that end, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Mom, you have to
give it
conclude your speech right now, Mom.
does not tell you this.
Thank you so much, Mom. Now I look to the second speaker from the proposition.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible and visible.
Please interrupt me in case you are not able to hear my voice or if there is a crack.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Okay, so I will start. Good evening. George Washington once said, "If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led, like sheep to the slaughter." The very reason we are able to debate and express our views here freely without anticipating cops at our doorstep is because we are no longer the sheep. As human beings, we are responsible to react in a given situation which is unjust and unfair to me or you. In fact, it reinforces all other human rights, allowing the society to develop and progress. The value of free speech seems so fundamental to me that it hardly needs a defense. Free speech has always been important throughout history because it has been used to fight for change. I see it as the most effective tool available for marginalized voices. No meaningful positive social change would occur without it. Now, let me run you through some of the recent instances where the right to freedom of speech managed to successfully bring about a change in the mindset of you and me. It was because of the right to speak freely that we could sit behind a screen and spread awareness about movements like Black Lives Matter at our fingertips that drew the attention of billions of people towards the massive issues of racism that persist. Before we typed hashtag Pride Month, adorning our Instagram feed with rainbow flags to support the LGBTQ plus community just a month back, we didn't even have to think twice. Activists from all over the world were able to educate it about the stigma and harassment faced by them till date. It even led to the growth of numerous organizations extending their support for the cause. The mass Me Too movement of women speaking out about experiences and abuses that have been long suppressed is one of the most quintessential exercises of free speech. Apart from leaving us all shook with an unexpected rise in the number of women calling out perpetrators, it also resulted in harassment proofing the workplaces and arresting the molesters in hiding. So it is undeniable that everyone loves their own human rights to freedom of speech. It's always when it's the other people that it's a problem. Every other day, we see the powerful and the influential ones being exposed in the news. One such eye opener was when the investigative journalist of the Boston Globe in 2002 uncovered a dark and hidden truth about the 70 Catholic Church priests, the mediators of God and humanity, sexually abusing minors. I can assure you that in a repressive state like North Korea, where there's absolutely no freedom to express, let alone criticize the authorities, the powerful can always get away with such crimes. It's very simple. If you feel that I made a problematic statement today, and nothing should stop you from voicing it in public, regardless of my wealth and power. Although India has come a long way, on one hand we have FIRs being filed by students for chanting Azadi, and the other we have political leaders giving hate speech. Hence, I want to stress here that as long as this expression does not incite any sort of disruption in the harmony of society or spread fake news, it is inextricably linked to the prosperity after all. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I look to the second speaker from the opposition.
Hello, am I audible?
Uh, yes, ma'am, you're audible, but there's a lot of background noise, ma'am.
Okay, just wait a second.
Yes.
Is it any better now?
Yes, ma'am, now it's perfect.
Okay, cool. That was my AC, sorry. Hello, I'm Priyanka Das. I'll be the second speaker from the side of the house. So I'm starting my speech, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Speaker, the problem is not as simplistic and not as shallow as they present to you today. Two things to do in this debate, right? Prove that freedom of speech is in its essence to be in its essence to be expressed and regulated is failing the functionality of the entire society, thereby undermining its own essentiality. Because in status quo, it is segregating more than creating cohesion within the society, which is imperative for the functionality of the society. On the other hand, right, the dangers are overwhelming because they're threatening the equity within the society, right? Equity of rights within the society and utilizing these rights within the society, because these speech, once incited with hatred, actually suppresses the marginalized and peripheralized community from accessing and using their rights against these people, because they're psychologically and mentally frustrated by the incitement of hatred against these community in the first place, right? We tell you that the functionality of the society is then dependent upon cohesion. When all communities are capable and given circumstances or surroundings to work together, and incitement of hatred upon a community due to racial, ethnic, gender, and other kinds of biases felt inside one's mind only to hurt and harm the sentiments and remain satisfied with the pseudo-supremacy divides and segregates the entire society and seriously affects the cohesive functionality, which is an aspiration for a better society, right? We tell you to substantiate our arguments, premise, and principle with a model that we believe that there exists a requirement in the status quo for a competent body of cultural linguists that direct suggestions towards the governing body and firstly remains independent from the government to avoid being dominated or corrupted by the government's biases, right? Secondly, to elect the entire body through the judiciary system, because in itself, to the judiciary or the judges, because in itself it is independent, who suggests the government with different kinds of formulative regulations to regulate these kind of hate speech and make better utility for the minorities and peripheralized communities to use their rights. And then it goes for a legislative review, and then it is passed on and is added on to enhance the functionality of the entire society with better cohesion received from society. What does it do, right? We prove why cohesion is going to happen comparatively better onto our paradigm, right? Because once this regulation is generated, the speech ensued by these pseudo-suprematist people happens there, occurs the empowerment of these suppressed communities against the speech directed towards the psychologically and morally, in order to psychologically and morally deprive them and subjugate them in the process, right? Therefore, comparatively, cohesion and thereby functionality of the society happens better on our paradigm. And when regulations are passed at the government body and enforced both at government and non-governmental jurisdictions to follow the imperative standard of speech required for the better functionality and cohesion of the society, we create a safe and functional paradigm for you. We are very proud to oppose this motion.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, we have third speaker from the proposition.
Yeah, hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible as well as visible.
Yeah. I'm just going to start. Good evening, everyone. Now, many of us may have inferred from the recent happenings in the few months before the pandemic that free speech culminates into certain dangers that create havoc and disrupt peace completely, as was the point put forward by the opposition as well. However, I am here to argue that not offering the necessary freedom of speech and expression can have widespread consequences, the effects of which may be felt for generations to come. Let me begin by highlighting the worst nuclear disaster in history, the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. The disaster, which was believed to be a result of a wrongly performed safety test, has in fact a different culprit behind it. It was the restrictions placed on speech and expression. To put it briefly, the details of the proper reactor design and the anomalies that it can cause was hidden by the erstwhile Soviet Union government to preserve its pride. As a result, even the engineers and staff working there did not have the proper information on the precautions to be taken, which ultimately culminated into a disaster, killing thousands and leaving many people as well as animals with numerous health deformities. Now, although this incident is from 34 years back, but the radiation levels near Chernobyl are still high. People cannot live there still, and the Russian government still clamps down on dissenters or critics of the government in the name of combating extremism. A statistic shows that the number of people convicted of extremism offenses sped from 30 in 2010 to 216 in 2015. The other example I put that will resonate much more with us is the example of Dr. Li Wenliang, the ophthalmologist who tried to warn us about a possible SARS-like virus in a child group of doctors, warning them of a possible outbreak and advising them to wear protective clothing on 30th of December. 4 days later, he was summoned by the Public Security Bureau and was accused of making false comments and severely disturbing social order. I don't think I need to explain where our social order lies as of now. Furthermore, 2 journalists have mysteriously disappeared after they tried to report about the ground situation of the coronavirus pandemic in China. One of these, Mr. Chen Qiushi, was also harassed for his role by Chinese government in the coverage of the Hong Kong protests back in August 2019. The Chinese government has a similar history of harassing and detaining citizens for speaking the truth or criticizing the government including the SARS emergency of 2003, the Wenchuan earthquake in 2008, and the Tianjin chemical explosion in 2015 as well. I agree, in today's world, hate speeches, blasphemy, and fake news do disturb our peace. But I want to ask one simple question. Even though freedom of speech and expression may entail certain dangers, but are we really capable of handling the dangers of restricting these necessary freedoms? And would that be actually in the interest of humanity's progress? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have the last speaker from the opposition.
Hi, hello.
Yes.
Am
sir.
I
Could you
audible
please
and
withdraw-
visible? Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are audible and visible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll just start in like 5 seconds. Okay. I'm Prateen Dhara and I'll be going to the third speaker from the opposition. Madam Speaker, the first thing that we would like to say is that we are, in this motion, we talk about the freedom of speech being a necessity in a functional society, regardless of its dangers that it may entail. So, as an opposition, we are not saying that the freedom of speech is not necessary. We are not saying ban free speech. What we are saying is that we must look at the dangers that it possesses to our society as a whole. We are not opposing freedom of speech. We are only opposing it when it causes grave danger to our society. So, when it gives equity, so for example, when the Black Lives Movement happens, or the LGBTQ movement happens, or the Me Too movement happens, we are all for it. We are okay when the Boston Globe comes out and takes out and tells us that there are pedophiles working in the Catholic Church. We're all fine with that because it exposes people in power who are abusing their power, and it gives equity to the oppressed. We are all for it because that is what our point is all about. So the proposition must come up and tell us about the dangers and tell us that how the dangers is okay, if they're okay with having the dangers, and freedom of speech is more essential. We'll tell you that freedom of speech is not as essential as it is made out to be. For example, we know in the Rwandan genocide between the Hutus and Tutsis, it was the freedom of speech by the Hutus who said that the Tutsis are cockroaches and they should be exterminated at all costs. And yet it was that made the Rwandan genocide that happened was mainly due to that, because of the hatred that happened, and there was a whole lot of inciting speeches that happened. So when genocides happen because of freedom of speech, the freedom of life is taken away. They must tell us how, in explicit terms, they must tell us how freedom of life is not as valued as freedom of speech. Will they consider the proposition must consider blood on their hands when they want to defend freedom of speech, because thousands upon thousands and millions of people have died because of genocides, and these genocides have been caused by hate speech, and hate speech should be regulated is what our point is. So our point has always been to give equity, and to give equity there has to be some regulation of hate speech, and our speakers have already mentioned as to how hate speech can be regulated. They have a body to regulate the hate speech which is independent of the government, so that there is no influence of the government itself. There will be cultural linguists who have huge experience in this field, and they will come up and tell us which is hate speech and which isn't, and this is completely independent of the government. So whatever government comes, it doesn't matter. So hate speech is always going to be marked as hate speech. And whenever if you have free speech, what you say as free speech, if you let everybody in the country shout, the majority will always outshout the minority. So there is no equity that they are talking about. The equity that they talk about of the Black Lives Movement wouldn't be possible if there is there are more majoritarian extremists and there are minoritarian extremists. There will always be more majoritarian extremists just by the sheer numbers that they are present. So by opposing this motion, we are saying that we will constitute a body that will regulate hate speech, and by this we will protect society, because freedom of life far exceeds freedom of speech. People must live to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Now we have come to the end of the first round. Next round is a discussion round. Can I get the names from the opposition as well as proposition?
So yeah, I will be going from the proposition team.
Okay, so Hamid sir from the proposition, and who's from opposition?
Hello, I'll be going from opposition.
Yeah. So we tentatively fixed as 4 minutes, and on the discretion of judge, after 4 minutes, we'll extend it. So your time starts now.
So the opposition very well, put down the points that yes, in a case of the country of Rwanda, the hate speech led to a genocide, and also to basically encompass this entire thing, we should set up a body. When they say that hate speech can manipulate people, what is the guarantee that what an independent body may not also be manipulated so easily? because finally we are people. We have emotional intelligence as well as, and as we have an emotional intelligence, it's easy to sway in the way we believe that that speech is going. If we are against that speech, of course, even as an influenced body, as a uninfluenced body, I might still be influenced. So making a separate body any which ways will not cater to this. Also, the UNHRC and our Indian constitution has laws. Yes, maybe the disparity is in the fact that the laws are there, but they might not be implemented. But that is a problem of implementation of the law, not the law itself. So the points that the opposition are saying that, yes, the freedom of life, of course, will come through freedom of speech. Because if as an oppressed you cannot speak, what is the point in having a freedom of life? I would let the opposition say the views as well.
Thank you. So we felt that you are making problems extremely simplistic. The kind of revolutions you're aiming at to be impacted within the paradigm wouldn't happen because of the power asymmetry which exists and the kind of power asymmetry you're conceding to, right? That there exist problems in implementation, which is why we feel there is a requirement for a body to go ahead and suggest the government in governance and remain undominated at best comparatively in our paradigm. We're not arguing to you that manipulation won't happen or manipulation would cease to exist in our paradigm. We are saying in comparison, our body presents more checks and balances and more equity and more probability and propensity to go ahead and implement and structure the society fit for the kind of implementation of rights and regulations already there in the constitution, and bring in more rights, bring in more regulations to better implement the constitution in itself, right? Secondly, the revolutionary voices you're talking about are getting curtailed in different points of paradigms. We felt the examples you have used were extremely reductive in the nature, right? Where there is a popular opinion or a popular propensity of a revolution, you've used those examples. What about the examples of Rohingya, where nobody listened to their opinion because they were a minority, right? In these kind of cases, there's a requirement.
Sorry, just interjecting here. The matter of Rohingya again is a point. Exactly, that is what we are trying to portray. It's again a problem where we are not able to implement this law to ensure that people are able to come out freely and speak in a much better manner. I mean, see, having a law is necessary, but of course the implementation should also follow, and that is the disparity in this particular situation where even after having a law, we are not able to implement to the fullest level. I mean, as far as an independent body is concerned, we have so many courts. I mean, each country has their courts. If I have to give you an example, of course, like North Korea, if you can see, I mean, where you say, of course, the voices are not being able to heard, North Korea is completely suppressed. I mean, if you want to know about North Korea, I mean, as a foreigner also, you cannot simply take pictures in North Korea. I mean, imagine the amount of, the pressure that comes on a person, even if he wants to simply voice his opinion, if he wants to even purchase a car. I mean,
we are not arguing suppression. We are arguing to curtail the suppression in our paradigm, right? So why and how we curtail the suppression? We actually bring in a body of cultural linguists who are indeed influenced by academic agendas, and therefore they're just not limited onto their academic papers creating suggestions and not being able to impact the entire paradigm. They're then acting in tandem with the government and not under the government will be able to better
Delegates,
and better
you've
regulate
exhausted your
the
time.
entire paradigm.
Judge, ma'am, do you want to extend the time?
Sure, I think give them another couple of minutes. I think 2 more minutes to cover what both of them
Yes,
want to, say. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So before I give in 2 minutes, please ensure that you don't cut each other while other one is speaking, because listening is as important as speaking. Keeping that in mind, we are going to give you 2 more minutes.
Okay, sure. Would the other speaker like to respond to it, or should I continue my point?
I would let you complete your point, and then I would like to conclude.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so when you bring in manipulation of this independent body, we tell you that when these judges are making the selections, judges being already an independent body of that of governance, and there existing a kind of legislative review, all of these checks and balances would then see into that entire body we are proposing to you are not prone or propensitated to the kind of manipulation you're talking about, right? So they're not entirely hijacked or captured with the biases that they're trying to be against of, right? So while all these reviews happen, these checks happen, this curtailing of corruption happens, and it happens better with an additional body. And I think we have established to you already that why there exists a need to have these additional body, right? There are so many countries, including countries like India, where ministers are not that competent into understanding what would better implement their policies into the kind of paradigm which already exists, and they already have their nationalistic and Hinduistic biases existing, right? Wherein we tell you that the academicians' biases are very different, right? They are more interested into how academically engineer the society, but they're unable to do so. So while that engineering can happen in tandem with the governance and not under the governance, we believe in our paradigm, given that we have proven to you that there exists a need for this kind of a system and body. This body will also be comparatively better functional and better checking out the kind of suppression you're talking about. Whereas on your paradigm, things would continue to be as it is, and these kind of engagements are not productive at all. They're reductive in nature. That's all.
To actually, to put out a point that what we are trying to achieve here is, so I will actually put down 3 final points. Of course, the first one is when we talk about manipulation, yes, on paper everything seems hunky-dory, but yes, we definitely know off paper humans are very easily swayable. Second, of course, the point being of the fact that an independent body, we already have the Supreme Courts and the UN courts in place.
Sir, please conclude in 5
Sorry,
seconds.
just taking 3 points to conclude here. So
Yeah.
we already have these courts in place. And of course, like every right, we also have a duty attached to the limit of freedom of speech that we should be using, which is very much listed down in the Constitution of India as well as in the UNHRC covenants. And the third one is, yes, we simply want to say that use freedom of speech for the progression of the country. Hate speech is not progressive. Progressive speeches are those which will help humanity improve in future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Speaker. It was a fiery discussion round. Thank you again. Next, we go to the next round, is the rebuttal round. May I know the speaker from the proposition?
Yeah, this is Vedant. I'll be doing the rebuttal round from proposition.
Yes, sir. You have time of 2 minutes.
Okay. So a very good argument presented by the opposition team, and we ourselves do not actually propagate in this way that we want to help hate speech. But there are certain points that were put by the opposition which I would really like to oppose. The first one of the points that was put by one of the opposition members was the segregation happens more when you give them freedom of speech, freedom of expression. And I want to highlight that if the segregation used to happen, there would not have been such a solidarity when it comes to LGBTQ or Black Lives Matter. Even in that case, there would not have been the Arab Spring, and the Hosni Mubarak government would not have been ousted. Secondly, another thing that was very much discussed by all the members was that there will be a formulation of another body. Now, there are already bodies into focus. We already have the WHO, and we still have the conflicts about what is wrong and what is right. The US and China still don't agree to each other. We still have the UN, and we still are not able to agree on many other points. Why not instead use the bodies that we already have? There are rules that are already there. The Supreme Court already has the Article 90, which is about the freedom of speech. There are other rules that are in the UN HR Commission as well. Why not use the same bodies that we already have? Let's better put the responsibility on instead of a body inside us, and make each other aware of what our responsibilities are when it comes to freedom of speech and everything. That being said, if we put this responsibility, we are already using this. For example, recently the post by Carrie Minati on YouTube was taken down because of hate speech. This was someone who was making each other aware. There are tweets that are being taken down. The simple reason being because we understand that this is not in terms of decency and morality. And I don't understand one another point was the equity of the rights is actually threatened. The equity of rights is not threatened. It is because we have this freedom of speech and expression, is because why we are all on the same level when it comes to voicing for justice. It is because of this that we have a movement for Black lives. It is it is the reason why here we have a movement for LGBTQ. I would like to conclude that we do not propagate a freedom of speech where hate speech is allowed, although we believe that using the same bodies that we already have and making people more aware of the responsibilities that come along with the rights will make more sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You've exhausted your time. Now I look upon to the next speaker from the opposition.
Yeah, I'll be speaking from the opposition.
Yes, sir. You have time for 2 minutes.
Yeah, just give me 5 seconds, I'll start. Uh, Madam Speaker, firstly, we would like to say that when they come up and tell us that they are all for, they are not for hate speech at all. They are not saying that hate speech should be, they are not for hate speech. Then they are absolutely not going for the proposition. They are not, doing the debate in the spirit of the debate, because the debate says that whatever be the consequences, we'll have free speech. They are saying no, 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 hate speech we are not going to consider. Though that being a harmful consequence, they are not going to consider. So they are not even debating in the spirit of the debate. So they are not considering the fact that hate speech is a consequence of free speech. When you let everybody speak freely without any consequence, that is free speech. That is absolute free speech, and that those are the harmful consequences that happen. They're not even taking those into consideration, and they are just arguing our case. Our case was that yes, free speech is essential, but it should be essential to a degree such that freedom of life is not endangered. That is our stance, and that is the same stance that they're taking. So, given that they have taken that stance, we win by proxy, because that is our stance. They had to come in and defend how the harmful effects how the good that is derived out of it outweighs the harm that comes out of it. So they are saying that there the SC is present in there. So we will say that the SC is present in it. But if the people themselves are killed, if the people in Delhi have been killed already, if the people in Rwanda have been killed already, how will they go to Supreme Court? Even if that is not the case, everybody cannot go to Supreme Court because everybody does not have the resources themselves. So we are saying we will stop this hate speech in the process so that people are not killed, people's lives are saved. That is our, because we believe freedom of life to be more important than freedom of speech at any point of time. And they are saying that and in arguing any of their cases, we are strengthening our points, because we are saying yes, we are absolutely fine with Black Lives Movement coming out. We are saying freedom of speech is essential, but it is not absolute. That is being our point. We will say that and when they say that they are not for hate speech, they are not going in the spirit of the debate at all. They are not even arguing how this is going to outweigh, the gains are going to outweigh the harms that is going to be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have finished with the rebuttal round. The next round is the fence defense round. So while the time is taken for presenting the screen, I would like to make something really clear that as soon as I finish reading the statement, you will be given 30 seconds for formulating. We don't entertain any answers at that point of time. After the 30 seconds, I will randomly choose one proposition or opposition, and you will have exactly 1 minute to present your solution. No extra time would be given. Yeah. So the statement for Fancy Defense is: consider the situation. An artist has published a work of his, it could be a book, a music, or artwork, even just essay or an article on a public forum, maybe social media. A few people in the comments are pointing out the fact that this looks very similar to the work of another person. The artist replies to this comment saying that it is purely a coincidence and people can have similar thoughts. Now, more people have started commenting similarly, and this situation has been taken over by the internet. Immediately, as it so happens on social media, the situation has garnered a lot of public attention. He is flooded with comments from numerous people, some from people who have read neither of their works, from both the artists. Some comments even suggest plagiarism. The point to be noted here is that it doesn't take much for this situation quickly to turn toxic, which might severely affect the credibility and, most importantly, dignity of the artist. On one hand, if there was any plagiarism, it would have been brought to light and called out for. And on the other hand, if it had been merely intellectual inspiration, or as he says, just a coincidence, it would have been unnecessary to be harmed and defamed. What is your take on the incident? How has the utilization of freedom of speech in this situation worked? Keep in mind, we do not really know all the details of the situation, and two parties haven't really commented further on the incident, and you're purely a spectator of internet. And your time begins now of 30 seconds of formulation. Yes. So I request the opposition to present the case first.
Yeah, so we believe. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so we believe since there exists a collective imagination of artists through which there can be a drawing out of different kinds of inspiration, this artist, in stating that he might have had shared an inspiration and not copied or plagiarized the inspiration completely, we believe that the kinds of comments being regulated are better than being completely let loose into the comment section at the point where people who do not share the same kind of artistic representation or artistic sentiments and are only mere observers and do not understand the kind of artistic investment put into a kind of artistic works cannot go ahead and abuse their freedom of speech and take down an artist's integrity at the comment section in itself. So which is where
Thank you, ma'am. Please conclude, ma'am.
Okay, which is where we believe that it's better regulated and maintained within the standards of social media rather than given the unregulated right of going ahead and abusing an artist's integrity completely.
Yes. Now the proposition has time for exactly 1 minute.
Yeah, so in this case, we like to point out that the case, the artist himself is independent. He's ready, is able to post whatever he wants, as is allowed by freedom of speech and expression. The people commenting on it also have a right or a freedom to present their criticism, their appreciation, whatever they want. If in case a hate speech occurs, it is again a freedom of the artist himself that he can lodge a case of something that obstructed his decency and morality. Furthermore, the artist also has a freedom to investigate his own art against the art he's being compared to check if he's actually right and wrong, and if in case of if he turns out right, that will be again in his freedom to post it again, and that would be the final freedom how it will work out for him.
Thank you so much, both speakers. Next, we have judge questioning round. Gauri ma'am, first, you would, how many questions do you have, like for the proposition?
I have two for both teams.
Okay, ma'am. So we'll be given 4 minutes. First with proposition, ma'am. Could you please tell out your questions?
Sure. So the question, and firstly, before I start the questions, I think I must say that it's been a very engaging and a very fresh thought to freedom of speech, because this topic has just been, sort of talked about so much in the recent past, and from time immemorial, that you sort of feel that you've heard all the arguments, but I think there were quite a few new takes on what freedom of speech entails and what freedom of speech doesn't entail. So I think thank you for opening my mind to a few new thoughts and new lines of thinking. So the two questions I have for the proposition are, we have seen that having this right, and having this right being regulated through the system of courts or through UNHRC, etc., has not proven to be entirely effective, because we still see a lot of hate speeches, we still see a lot of bullying, cyberbullying, and all the sort, and all such sorts of things. So what is your take? I mean, what is the, who should be regulating this? How should they be regulating it? And what is the responsibility that comes with this right? That is my first question to you. The second question is, what is the role of society in general to ensure that this right is properly utilized? And what part does the society play in playing out this right properly? Yeah, these are the two questions for the proposition side from my end.
Ma'am, just to clarify, you mean the right
So
to
the
free
team-
speech.
Sorry?
Do you, by saying that the role that the society plays in ensuring that the right is used properly, you mean the
Correct.
right to free speech, right?
Do you mean the right to? Sorry?
Free speech.
Yes. Yes, freedom of speech. Yes, I mean that.
Do you mean absolute freedom of speech, though, or just freedom of speech?
Freedom of speech.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so the proposition has 4 minutes to formulate as well as answer. Your time begins right now.
Are the questions clear? Do you want some? Do you want any clarifications?
No, ma'am, I think they are pretty much clear.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to answer now. So we kind of have the same answer for both the questions, ma'am. So you can say that we are answering both the questions in one go. So you are right when you say that rights being regulated is not as effective, and this being a question of freedom of speech, we advocate that having a body that's said by the opposing party may not actually help, because we have had many bodies in this world, and the bodies themselves have been attacked, saying that they themselves have their own propaganda, and this may keep on continuing into a loop. What we would like to advocate instead is to aware each other emotionally and spiritually about what freedom of speech actually entails to us, what it allows to us. Yes, there will obviously be limitations. The implementation is something that we haven't completely thought of as of now. But yes, if the nation as a one person, as the nation, or even as the globe as a humanity as whole, takes efforts towards making everyone around you aware that the right freedom of speech does not give you the right to spread hate, but instead it gives the right to put your points in an intelligent manner. And I think even the society's role makes the same. We need to tell each other why bodies that are not actually in a religious or spiritual or some other way. These are the bodies that are the central bodies that are already present. We use this to spread awareness. If we can spread awareness about AIDS, we can spread awareness about corona, we surely can take this step forward to spread awareness of this particular issue, where we understand what exactly right to freedom of speech, the dangers it entails, and how it should help us progress towards a better future. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, mom, now you can question the opposition.
Will you just give me a second while I just put down my thoughts before I forget them?
Sure, sure, mom. Sure, mom.
Okay. So I have two somewhat similar questions for the opposition, which is the whole concept of regulation or having a regulatory body goes against the concept of freedom, because anytime you try and regulate a right that you have got, you tend to put a curb on that right, and that's can become regressive and can really take away the right. So how do we ensure that the freedom is not compromised, the freedom of speech is not compromised in the guise of a regulation or a regulatory body? That's my first question. The second question is again, what role does the society play in ensuring that regulations act as a catalyst to freedom of speech rather than a barrier to the freedom of speech? So yeah, these are my two questions. Any clarifications you would need on this?
No, none required. That was pretty clear. Thank you.
So the opposition time of 4 minutes begins right now. Please switch on your video while answering. Thank you.
Can I answer now? Hello?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was speaking on mute.
Yeah, sure. So to answer your first question, how this regulatory body would not go ahead and be regressive in the guise of proclaiming freedom for people, we believe the kind of regulatory body we propose is unique and doesn't exist or haven't existed so far in any kind of bodies that the proposition brings to you, right? Secondly, in its uniqueness, we prove to you that they share different motivations, right? And we believe that these academicians, when they have different motivations, these motivations should be prioritized given that they're comparatively better subjected to the kind of checks and balances we propose to you. So therein, they'll better ensure that freedom is propagated or proclaimed even even in the form of regulation, because regulation, again, we have proven to you that it's required because of the present state, it's acting counterproductive. This freedom, when you give to the paradigm which is asymmetrically balanced in power, different people are then differently powered to utilize their freedom, which is why this regulation is required to bring in an equity and an equitable ground for everyone to share the common scope of power. Therein, freedom doesn't act counterproductive and doesn't shapes in a guise of regressiveness, but rather propensitates the possibility of freedom and expression to its true essence. To answer your second question, that how society in itself would ensure that this regulation doesn't undermine the entire scope of freedom, right? We believe every society needs to be prepared for the kinds of laws it's subjected to. Given that India, sort of like taking the example of India, it formulated a constitution adapted from across the world, right? Now, what happened is that it was not prepared for that constitution to be subjected to its own society, which is why there is required for academicians dedicated to understand the society and therefore suggest the governing body to how to better implement these laws. While these laws, these acts, these regulations are good, they are not acting in tandem with its own society. So while you go ahead and find what's the problem within the society, you will then ensure that the society better adjusts with the kind of regulations provided to it. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we are going to the last round, this closing statement. We first have Kritika Mittal from the opposition giving the concluding statement.
Sorry, could you repeat? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, please give your concluding statement.
Who goes first?
First, the opposition.
Okay. Okay. So I'll tell you, Judge, so I'm going to pan out what happened in this entire discussion, right? So basically, the proposition comes and tells you that we are all against hate speech, but what it means is they are like we do not promote hate speech, but they are not addressing to the issue of the hate speech which is created by the extreme absolute right of freedom of speech. So they not engaging with this problem and just shrugging their shoulders and saying, okay, we do not like hate speech, is not actually countering the issue in hand. They're not giving you any way how we can stop the cyberbullying, supremacism, the racial divide, the manipulation that's having in the masses. They say they want to make aware the people aware of their rights, of the power of this freedom, right? So people know murder is wrong, right? But still murders happen in the society. So therefore we have this sets rules and regulations. We put this place so that what is acceptable and what is not. And therefore we propose to you that particular model, right? We propose to you a model which is independent of the governing body. So it is made by, it is elected by who? The judiciary, who itself are independent, right? The opposition comes and tells you, no, even they have some, humans are easy to sway. But that means they're undermining the capacity, the set skills and the knowledge these linguistics have. We are not talking about any random person. We're talking about people who have 15 to 20 years experience in learning these things. And to just undermine them means totally letting go of what education they have, and which is not acceptable, right? Second, the fact that educating will not help. We're not in a perfect world, but telling people that this is wrong will go forth. You cannot go and tell Hitler that yes, talking about race supremacy was wrong, so please back down. He still went on, right? He thought what he was doing is right, and therefore we have to counter this.
Please
Right
conclude
to
now.
life, trying to a right to speech. If you're not alive to speak, what is the point of having anything, right? That is what I'm very proud to oppose.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Vandana from Team Proposition to present a closing statement.
Yes, am I audible? Okay,
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
all right.
Please
So,
switch on your video too.
yeah, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, it's completely fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. So the motion that we propose is that freedom of speech is a necessity in a functional society, regardless of the dangers that it may entail. So, in a nutshell, from what our colleagues and I have told, without freedom of speech, we will all be living under the cave. I believe that it's when we replace fear of speech with freedom of speech that we can truly live in a society that's accommodative of all opinions, criticisms, and truth, especially favoring those who have been suppressed for long. Every revolution ever began with one man questioning the system and his voice echoing throughout the tyranny. Like my colleague Hamir projected that throughout history, all major changes like the French Revolution have been brought about through exercise of this particular right. Now, if we consider the current scenario as well, I also talked about the different movements which are actually nothing but a path to progress. So basically, freedom of speech makes sure that progress will be achieved in the society through the various movements which we will be able to call out only with this particular right. The various social media movements like Me Too and Black Lives Matter, everything will gain wide recognition mainly because freedom of speech. And also, there have been a lot of negative impacts which were also pointed out. And one thing that we would like to point out is that we conclude that we have not advocated for the amount of freedom and debated and not about absolutism. We don't advocate for hate speech of any manner. We only talk about the fact that freedom should definitely be there, but laws are already there in every single country regarding freedom of speech, and laws should be implemented. It is up to the society, it is up to the people to actually abide by these laws. Positive influences should
You've
be able to
exhausted your
make sure.
time.
So we would like to conclude by saying that freedom of speech should be there regardless of whatever dangers it may entail, as long as nobody is hurt, there is no propagandas which are hate spread. Thank you.
Thank you so much, debater. Thank you so much for coming up for this debate. Any judges for our debaters? Any
Sorry,
comments for our debaters?
Yeah, I just, like I said earlier, I think it was a very fresh perspective, and all of you have really worked hard on this. I think, I mean, it comes across because it seems like there is a lot of research that has gone into it, and I was just. When Anita invited me for the debate, I thought it's a college debate, and I will show up, and they will be talking. but I think you guys are way too much more serious about how you debate. So I think that's a very good positive sign to see. And all the very best to all of you, and keep debating. I was an avid debater in my college and school days, and I really enjoyed debating. And I think it's a very nice skill to have, because you really become analytical and logical with debate. So keep doing that. All the very best to all of you, and you've given me a good different line of thinking. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes,
Oh, I was also like about to thank her. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank,
Back.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
yes, ma'am. You can fill in the score sheet and then send it by tonight, ma'am. And all the
Yeah.
debaters will be yes, all the debaters will be getting the result by tomorrow night at max.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.